I'm really honored and delighted to be here this evening and to have eaten that wonderful food that you all prepared. Let's give all of us a hand for that food. It was delicious. And I feel that the movement that we are representing here, that we're active in, and that we are promoting, of compassionate and healthy and sustainable eating, is the most vital and important, most essential movement on our planet right now, because it goes right to the very root of our dilemmas. So I feel a lot of love, really, for each and every one of you. If you found your way into this room right now, it means that you are concerned about what we should really be concerned about. And not just concerned, but actually actively investigating and exploring alternatives to the massive industrial killing machine that is going on right now, basically killing every day relentlessly 75 million animals for food, just in the United States alone. It's a huge project, killing that many animals. And so most of the people that we see when we leave here and we walk around and drive around and so forth are making that happen. They're taking out their wallets, like Jeff said, and they're paying for someone to hyper-confine and mutilate and stab and kill other totally sentient beings, as sentient as we are, completely unnecessarily, and to confine them for their secretions, for their dairy products and eggs. And so I think when we begin to awaken and realize that this is utterly unnecessary and it is not in anyone's best interest, perhaps it's in the best interest of a tiny minority of people who get rich on war and violence and devastation, but for us, for people and for future generations, for ecosystems, and really for everyone, ultimately, the world is yearning for a fundamental, radical change. So before I sort of launch into the talk that I would like to give, I'd like to maybe do two things. One is do you have anything that you're really interested in having me talk about specifically, anyone? Is there anything you're really specifically interested in? And as I go on this evening, I'll see if I can touch on it perhaps. Okay, yeah?
I'm brand new to this.
You're brand new?
Yes, and I'm still in that research phase, and I was just enjoying discussions with people at my table about feeding my carnivorous animals. And
Okay.
get me in this still place, and I'm having a huge struggle with it.
Feeding carnivorous companion animals?
Yes.
I would like you to talk a little bit about the aspect of being a vegan and karma and how it affects the entire life that we're living now, as well as future us.
Karma, and as well as the future us?
Yes, the future art, future work.
The future art, right. Good, okay. And somebody else, yes?
Yeah, well, so what we can do to detox heavy metals.
To detox heavy metals?
And stuff. What we can do is detox the metals that are in our body.
Right, right. Detoxing heavy metals. Okay, good. And anything else? Yes? She wants me to tie in Monsanto. Boy, Satan itself here. I can tie in Monsanto. I can tie in Monsanto into anything. Yes?
The history of veganism.
The history of veganism.
And its connection to animal rights.
And its connection to animal rights. The history of veganism, okay. All right, well, those are some good things to jump off on. And actually, before I think I launch into some words, I'd like to take just a couple minutes here in the very beginning, sort of transferring from eating, from partaking of the vibrations of love and the vibrations of compassion and caring that were embodied in the food that we received, and take in some other nourishment in the form of music. I'd like to play a short piece of music. And then we're actually, I'll just let you know, we're going to have a little surprise after that before the talk. This is sort of a segue. So I'm going to play a short piece of music. This is called Benediction of Light. It's an original piece, an improvisation on this melody, and So I'd like to, just as we go into this part of the evening, which will be just 4 or 5 minutes, just invite us perhaps to take a moment and just turn our attention within and feel our connection with the earth, this beautiful planet, with our brothers and sisters who are working hard to create a world of peace and sustainability and justice and freedom, with all the animals, the non-human animals that we share this beautiful planet with, and with our future self, the one who is beckoning us onward to a more evolved state. And with the love that is in our hearts shining, give thanks for this moment and for this time we have, knowing that we're part of an awakening on this planet of human consciousness. So this is a short piece of music, Benediction of Light, dedicated to the healing of all of our relations. creating the energy field that made that all possible. It looks like Jeff's going around with the Martinellis for the toast. So I will, and Jeff and other people are going around too. So, Jeff, do you want me to talk here or turn it over to you?
We have a few more people.
All right. Okay, so let me go ahead then and just continue on here. How's everybody doing? Fine, good. I'd like to talk about the World Peace Diet. Oh, Madeline's suggesting I mention Annalise. Annalise is Madeline's mother. She's right here. She's let's give a hand to Annalise. That's mother. And she's 92 years old, and she's been a vegan for 15 years. And Alan and I feel very fortunate. Both of our mothers have been vegan for about 15 years, and my mother, her asthma went away, and Annalise, her arthritic pains went away, so she's doing very well. And she's just here for a couple more days till she flies back to Switzerland. She's going back to Switzerland. She's from there. So we're delighted to have her with us. She doesn't speak English, so she doesn't know what I'm saying. But now we'll translate it all later. She'll be happy. So thank you to all the mothers, my own mother, really. I remember myself growing up in New England back in the 1950s in Concord, Massachusetts. And I remember my mother basically fed us what everybody ate, right? The usual meals, lots of meat, dairy products, and eggs. And I remember when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I was getting old enough to kind of wonder about things. And I said to my mother, "So, Mom, the kind of food we're eating, is this what everybody eats?" And my mother said, "Yes, what we're eating, typical, yeah, everybody eats this, yeah." And I said, "Okay, I mean, everybody in the whole world, they all eat like what we're eating?" And she said, yeah, everybody in the whole world, they all eat what we're eating, pretty much, yeah." And then she came back a few minutes later. I think she felt guilty for saying that. She said, "Well, actually, there are vegetarians." I had never heard that word before, and she said it in a way that I knew I would never hear it again. She acted like they were like hypothetical people that don't really exist. Where would they get their protein? So she was right. That was the last time I ever heard the word, last thing I ever heard about vegetarians for many, many years. And I went away to a summer camp in Vermont when I was about 13 or 14 years old, and it was affiliated with this beautiful organic dairy where nothing bad could ever happen to anyone. And I remember one day we were told to catch a chicken. I remember catching my chicken, and then we all caught our chickens. We were taught to put them on the floor, on this board, on the ground, and have our backs, kind of, poor little chickens, ran around with no heads, starting blood, and then we put them through the hot water, and then we ate the chickens. And I remember as a 13-year-old little boy, this really did not bother me too much, because I had gone through, at that point, probably the most intensive indoctrination program anyone can go through on this planet, and I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that these animals were put here by God for us to eat. They do not have a soul, they taste good, and if you don't eat them, you will die within 24 hours for sure of a protein deficiency. So it's just a good, noble, right thing to do. This is what God wants us to do. And even a little later, when we gathered around a dairy cow and shot her, and took 3 shots to the head before she finally crashed to the floor of the barn. And I was exposed to just the sheer enormity of killing such a large animal. Not to say that a chicken doesn't value her life just as much as a cow, but just a 2,000, almost 2,000 pounds these animals are, enormous. And to see her just reduced in front of me from a being to a thing, and to see the enormous amount of blood actually that came out of her body, because they have to cut these arteries immediately. And when they do that, and I remember the fellow who did this, and this has really meant a lot to me later, he said you have to, when an animal is, if you're going to eat them, you have to cut these arteries immediately, because if you don't, the meat will be soggy. So that the heart has to actively pump the blood out of the body, so otherwise it sort of sits in the flesh, and we humans do not want any soggy flesh. That shows how carnivorous we really are. And so anyway, I realized in the years since then, in all the research, I've been a vegan now, I think I'm in my 31st year here. And I done a lot of research on what goes on to animals in slaughterhouses. And that's really the reason that animals suffer so severely, basically, in the process of being killed, because we don't want soggy meat. You can't just sort of kill an animal somehow and just wait, let them die and come back and then cut them up and eat them. That would be soggy. So the animals have to be supposedly stunned, which very often doesn't work. And then their arteries are cut, so they're hanging upside down by one or two legs. Chickens, cows, pigs, ducks, geese, doesn't matter, whatever they are, lambs. And then their throats are cut, and then they die by bleeding. Which takes a long time. It's a very horrific, probably one of the most horrific ways to die. And this is what we see. So when we are eating meat, or so-called something like that, we don't know what that animal, what that animal went through. But it was pretty much always this kind of a death in a slaughterhouse, enormous amount of anxiety and very often of pain as well. Yeah. Okay. All right, so anyway, I don't want to leave on that note before I say a couple more things here. But anyway, so